The year was 1966. The place, Point Pleasant, a quaint town nestled along the banks of the Ohio River in West Virginia. It was here, in this serene setting, that a series of bizarre and unsettling events would unfold, giving rise to a legend that continues to captivate and mystify to this day. The legend of the Mothman. On a crisp November evening, two young couples, Roger and Linda Scarberry, and Steve and Mary Mallet, found themselves on a late-night drive near an abandoned World War II munitions plant known as the TNT area, just outside of Point Pleasant. Little did they know that their leisurely drive would soon turn into a harrowing encounter with the unknown. As their car cruised along a desolate stretch of road, the couples were startled by a pair of glowing red eyes peering out from the shadows. Fear gripped their hearts as they realized that the eyes belonged to a creature unlike anything they had ever seen before. The creature, described as being over 6 feet tall with enormous wings resembling those of a moth, seemed to glide effortlessly through the darkness, its piercing red eyes fixed intently on the terrified couples. Panicked, they sped away, the creature's haunting image seared into their minds. This encounter would mark the beginning of a series of sightings and strange occurrences that would plague the town for months to come, leaving an indelible mark on the community and its history. The Scarberries and Mallets were not alone in their terrifying encounter. Their story was just the beginning of a series of eerie events that would haunt the town. In the days and weeks that followed, reports of similar sightings began to surface throughout Point Pleasant, creating a wave of panic and curiosity among the residents. Residents from all walks of life, from respected businessmen to local law enforcement officers, came forward with their own chilling accounts of encounters with the winged anomaly. Each story added to the growing legend of the Mothman. One particularly unsettling report came from a young mother named Marcella Bennett, who claimed to have been confronted by the creature while visiting relatives in Point Pleasant. Her experience was one of the most harrowing. According to Bennett, the Mothman, as it had come to be known, appeared outside her bedroom window, its glowing red eyes illuminating the night. The sight was both mesmerizing and terrifying. As Bennett watched in horror, the creature reportedly attempted to break through the glass, its powerful wings beating furiously against the window pane. The sound was deafening. Terrified, Bennett screamed for help, but by the time her family reached her, the Mothman had vanished into the night, leaving only fear in its wake. Reports of Mothman sightings continued to plague Point Pleasant, spreading fear and unease throughout the community. The once peaceful town was now gripped by a sense of dread. The creature was often seen near the TNT area, its presence seemingly linked to the abandoned munitions plant. This location became a focal point for many of the sightings. Some whispered that the Mothman was a harbinger of doom, its appearance a sign of impending disaster. The legend of the Mothman grew with each passing day. On December 15th, 1967, just over a year after the first reported sighting of the Mothman, tragedy struck the small town of Point Pleasant. The Silver Bridge, a suspension bridge connecting Point Pleasant, West Virginia, to Gallipolis, Ohio, collapsed during rush hour, sending dozens of cars and their occupants plummeting into the icy waters of the Ohio River below. The bridge collapse was a devastating event for the small, tight-knit community of Point Pleasant, claiming the lives of 46 people and leaving countless others in mourning. The tragedy sent shockwaves throughout the nation, prompting a full-scale investigation into the cause of the collapse, which was later found to be a structural failure. In the aftermath of the disaster, many residents couldn't help but draw a connection between the bridge collapse and the strange occurrences of the previous year, including the sightings of the Mothman. Rumors spread like wildfire that the Mothman had been seen near the bridge in the days leading up to the collapse, its presence a haunting premonition of the tragedy to come, adding an eerie layer to the already tragic event. While investigators ultimately attributed the bridge collapse to a structural failure caused by a single eye bar in a suspension chain, the belief that the Mothman had played a role in the disaster persisted among the townspeople. The legend of the Mothman, once a local phenomenon, had become forever intertwined with the tragedy of the Silver Bridge collapse, cementing its place in the town's history. The story of the Mothman, fueled by the tragedy of the Silver Bridge collapse, quickly spread beyond the confines of Point Pleasant, capturing the imagination of the public and the media alike. Newspapers and magazines across the country ran sensationalized accounts of the winged creature, often portraying it as a harbinger of doom or a supernatural entity. In 1975, author John Keel published his book, The Mothman Prophecies, which chronicled his own investigations into the Mothman phenomenon. Keel's book, which blended eyewitness accounts with his own theories about UFOs and the paranormal, became a bestseller, further cementing the Mothman's place in popular culture. The Mothman's fame continued to grow in the years that followed, inspiring countless books, documentaries, and even a major motion picture. The creature's image adorned everything from t-shirts and coffee mugs to tourist traps and local businesses in Point Pleasant, which fully embraced its newfound identity as the home of the Mothman. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos on fascinating legends and mysteries